Hey guys, and welcome to part 21 of Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last part we got to the ice gym finally, and yeah, that's how you solve the puzzle. Actually did take me a few tries to mess around with the cubes and all that kind of stuff. So yes, for the beginning of this part we're going to be taking on Price for the icicle snowy badge or whatever. So I wouldn't say this is the hardest gym. I would still definitely say the fighting gym is harder, but this gym took me the most amount of attempts. This is my third attempt doing it. I had a lot of trouble with this fight. Just a lot of trouble. I still, again, would say it's not the hardest gym leader, but yeah, it was just a massive pain, because these Pokemon are pretty strong, and actually I thought I was going to have to go and level up, because I tried twice, lost twice, horrendously bad, and then I thought, well, what am I going to do? So I tried for a third time, and this is that attempt. So one thing I tried to do in one of the early attempts is use E-Rock, and use his defense curl up against this seal, and try to do it that way. But then I realised that the later Pokemon and all these Pokemon have good special attacks and physical attacks. So if I kept using Defense Curl, E-Rock would be okay against the physical attacks, but they still have good special attacks. So in the end I decided to use Mr. Sublime because he was the most effective against this seal, just because Psybeam is really good and he has good special attack. So yeah, rather than try to do any tricks when fighting this seal or try to do anything like that, I just took him out with a few Psybeams, you know. Because I would have just used the Fluff, but the Fluff still only has Thundershock. It's embarrassing, it still only has Thundershock. So in an ideal world, the Fluff would have like Thunderbolt and I would be able to take out the seal easily, but no. Right, so this is his Big Daddy, I guess, his strongest Pokemon, and I got really unlucky when fighting this thing the first two times I did it, because the whole point of me sending out the Fluff, as you can probably guess, is to paralyze it. Now Piloswine apparently is part ground type or something, because Thunder Wave doesn't work on it, so the only way I could paralyze it is if it used a physical attack, and I got lucky with my static ability. But the first two times I did this battle I didn't get lucky with my static ability, or he just used a different attack that was a special attack rather than something like Ice Fang. So I was really happy when I was playing this battle and he actually did get paralyzed. It just really helps me out in the end, because this Piloswine is really strong, so I really needed it to be paralyzed. Like, I really needed it to not be able to go first or anything like that, because its attacks like Blizzards just can kill most of my squad in one, I would have to say. So once the Fluff had paralyzed it, I just used a few growls, you know, there was nothing else the Fluff could do. There was no point in using Thundershock, it wouldn't work. Charge would have just been completely pointless, so I thought I might as well just lower its attack. So I mentioned in the last part that York should have been the man here. This was his gym. He has Flame Wheels, a good fire attack, fire beats ice, he should have kicked ass throughout this whole gym. Well, the problem with that is that Seal and Dewgong, its evolved form, are both water types, so completely useless against them. And against this Piloswine, the Piloswine has Mud Bomb, which is super effective. So really, one of the reasons I need Piloswine to be paralyzed is so I could send in York, so I could hit it with 2 Flame Wheels rather than 1. But another thing that happened in the other battles where I got really unlucky is that it missed. I used Flame Wheel against this thing and it just missed. And I don't know how that happened or what was up with that, but it was very frustrating, because this Piloswine is really bulky, it's really hench, it's not easy to take or to do damage on this thing, so that was kind of disappointing. But now that it's used its berry and it's on like half health, I decided I'll send out Mr. Sublime, because once again he's my strongest Pokemon when it comes to, you know, attacking. I got very lucky there avoiding the Blizzard. I think that Blizzard would have taken me out, I want to say, although I did just use Light Screen. Light Screen is really helpful, just really nice to have that attack. I never really use attacks like Light Screen, but you know, for this battle it really did come in handy. So I just hit it with the Psybeam and, you know, took it down, not too bad. I mean, the other attempts were a lot more embarrassing than this. My other attempts dragged on a lot longer and just took forever, so yeah, when I realised that Mr. Sublime was pretty much going to be the guy in this battle rather than say York, you know, this battle became a lot easier, and I didn't need to use any weird tactics or anything like that. So he only has one Pokemon left, and that's Dewgong. I decided to send out E-Rock because I didn't think E-Rock would have any other use in this battle. I knew that E-Rock wasn't going to last long against a Dewgong, especially a level 32 one, and this Dewgong is pretty strong in itself. You don't, you know, this whole battle is taking on every single Pokemon, not just the Piloswine, because I think this Dewgong can do some serious damage. So I thought, you know what, screw it. I knew I wouldn't have enough time for a rollout, so I just thought I'd play it safe and go for a Magnitude, because this Aurora Beam really does mess me up. But yeah, like I said, I'm pretty much sending out E-Rock to try and do some damage to the thing. And I have enough Pokemon that I can waste one. I know that's probably not a good tactic, and if I, you know, if I was being a bit smarter about this. But, oh yeah, that's why. I should really rewatch my videos before recording commentary. But yeah, that was one of the other reasons as well. I assumed that E-Rock could take at least one hit from this thing because of how defensive it is. And I wanted Mr. Sublime to be able to come back in just in case things went horribly wrong, so I used a potion there. I was pretty happy with myself that I didn't have to use that many potions in this battle. It is kind of weird. The other two battles, especially the fighting gym, I relied a lot on potions. And that was going to be part of my strategy for this battle as well, go to the mart and buy a stupid amount of hyper potions. Although in the end I didn't have to do it, so that's kind of nice. Alright, so I sent out Mega Dude. Because I knew Mega Dude could take the hits. There's nothing this Dewgong can really do to Mega Dude that's really going to mess it up. So as you can see, Aurora Beam doesn't do that much, and that's probably its most powerful attack. So yeah, definitely having a water type against this Dewgong is something I would recommend, as long as you have a, you know, non-water type move to hit it with. And I hit this thing with Rollout, and Rollout is, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's so good, this attack. Because the main problem with this Dewgong is that it's pretty tough. It's quite hard to lower its HP. But it has rest. So as soon as you get it down to quite low HP, it uses rest and goes back to full health again. And also, one thing that's quite nice about this Dewgong though is that in the original it didn't have this attack, but it has Sleep Talk. Which means that when it's asleep, it uses Sleep Talk and it randomly picks one of its other attacks and uses that against you. And the reason why it's really nice is because it limits its attacks a lot. So really this Dewgong might have been an even bigger problem, but because it only had Ice Shard and Aurora Beam to attack Mega Dude with, it was never going to do that much damage. And Rollout is such a great counter to Rest, because if you hit it like 3 times, I can't remember how times I hit it, but if you say hit the Pokemon 3 times with Rollout, and then lower its health down to, you know, lower its health, then it uses Rest, you're going to hit it with that 4th rollout and maybe kill it, or maybe with a 5th rollout, because it's still going to be asleep for at least a couple of turns. So really, this battle wasn't that hard. It's kind of embarrassing just how badly the other 2 attempts went. But I don't know, once I thought about it, you know, had Mr. Sublime at level 28, you know, I want to say if I didn't have Mr. Sublime I would have had a lot more trouble with this battle. But once again, if I didn't have Mr. Sublime, all my other Pokemon would have been a higher level, and York would have been a higher level, and the Fluff would have been a higher level. Because in theory, it should have gone the Fluff against Seal, York against Piloswine, and the Fluff against Dewgong. But of course it wasn't that simple, thanks to York and Fluff being a bit, not bad, but definitely could be a lot stronger. So yeah, all in all, a good battle, not too bad. Oh, what's this? A call from the professor? Oh, wow. This is very unexpected. Because, yes, you may be thinking, hey, you know, now we got the 7th badge, we can go off and do the 8th badge, or go off to Ice Path, because that's where we're heading. But no. One thing that's kind of nice and kind of interesting, one thing they could do because of the telephone call system, is that Professor Elm says, go to the radio tower. It'll be well cool. And you're like, okay, Professor Elm, you obviously know what you're talking about. Because yes, for the rest of this part and in the next part as well, we're going to be in Goldenrod City. I already mentioned that we go back to Goldenrod. Because Goldenrod is a big city, there's a lot to do here, so... Yeah, because apparently Team Rocket are up to the old tricks. And when I say old tricks, I mean they just kind of... They did some bad stuff in the last part and we foiled them, so... So yeah, very similar to how in Saffron City, Saffron gets taken over by Team Rocket. In this place, or in Goldenrod, Team Rocket is now taken over, which I think is pretty cool. Because one of the things that was odd about Saffron City is that you showed up and it was already occupied. Oh, God, I can't speak. It's too early in the morning for me to say occupied. There we go. It was already taken over by Team Rocket, which was kind of cool, but it's also pretty cool that in this game you already come to Goldenrod, you already know the city, and then you come back here and it's like, oh no, Team Rocket, they're up to no good. But yeah, we actually need to get into the radio tower to stop them that way, but you can't go straight in, and this is something that's really cool. It's not anything big that they've changed. In the original, I think you could go straight into the radio tower, or you had to find a password or something like that. But Goldenrod City has this underground kind of route, which again is quite cool. And a lot of different things happen here depending on what day you show up. I don't know all of them, I don't think any of them are that useful, but yeah, there are different people show up here depending on what day it is, so I won't be showing them off. But this is just a little change from the original, just a little thing, nothing too big, nothing too in your face, just a little cool thing where only Team Rocket grunts can be let into the building, which is, I mean, brilliant. It's definitely the smartest thing Team Rocket has ever done. Instead of letting in any children and their Charizards, actually saying, no, you need to be a Team Rocket grunt to be where we are. It's brilliant, it's genius. They've done it again, those crazy guys. So you actually have to dress up as a Team Rocket grunt, which is hilarious. You just it was so weird when I first saw this. I was like, what? How could what? Why? But it's just a nice little thing that they changed. You know, really it doesn't add anything to it. It's just nice to see your character as a Team Rocket grunt. Oh, it's definitely odd. And the thing that makes it really odd is that you still have your Pokemon following behind you. So you blatantly are a Team Rocket grunt because you have like a Cyndaquil behind you, but you're completely dressed up as one. And of course you strip naked and get changed in front of everyone there. Kind of a bit odd. But hey, whatever, it's a Japanese game. In Japanese media you spin around and you can change your clothes super quick, so it's pretty cool, it's pretty nice. But yeah, that's this is the radio tower. And as you may have guessed, it's going to involve a lot of fighting of Team Rocket grunts. Now, I think you're required to do a lot more fighting of the Team Rocket grunts than in the headquarters, which is kind of odd. But yeah, once again, it's kind of an odd decision that they paced the game like this. I really like this whole section of having to go back to the radio tower because Team Rocket has attacked it and you have to go get it back. But it seems odd that after how much battling you've already done with Team Rocket, that then this section triggers here. Because it could have triggered at any time. They could have called you up at any time. Professor Elm could have been like, you know, two towns ago. Could have been like, oh, by the way, Team Rocket, radio tower, have a blast. But, you know. See, and that's another, I don't know if you saw it there real quick. It says he's going to go off and defeat Lance the trainer. And it'd be like, but then the last dialogue box was, oh, it's going to be your turn next, be ready for it. But there's an exclamation point at the end of be ready for it. I mean, because that was new dialogue written for this game, because I don't think he shows up here, your rival. Or not at that point anyway, because you don't have to sneak in this kind of way. So I don't know why he would be like, be ready for it. Because if there was no exclamation point, then he would be like, because he is interested in you, like I already mentioned in the last part. So he'd be like, it'll be your turn next, be ready for it. As in, like, you know, he's a tough guy, he's not messing around, you know. It's not advice, it's just saying, you got to be ready for it, kid, and that's what it's saying, you know, he's a cool guy. But now it just sounds like he's being a bit too much like his friend. Because that was one thing I was thinking going into this remake. Because the Rivals dialogue is definitely the harshest, or the least friendliest of any of the rivals. Gary obviously wasn't that nice, but he was so cartoonishly, you know, a dick to you that it was just funny. So obviously they were going to write new dialogue for this guy, and overall they did a pretty good job, really, writing the dialogue. They could have just made him a lot nicer. Well, he doesn't randomly give you items like Gary does in Fire Red. You know, when you beat Gary and Fire Red at on the Nugget Bridge, he then leaves and then comes back. He's like, oh, here you go, buddy. Here's a new item that they've introduced for this generation, for Generation 3. But yeah, they did a pretty good job of having the rival not be like that. So, but yeah, so this is actually pretty nice because I didn't show off the radio tower at all when I came here. I went to the bottom floor, did the quiz, had a bad time, but I didn't really show off at all. And there is a few things you can actually do in this place, but of course at the moment Team Rocket is taking over, so you kind of have to, you know, fight everyone. And one thing that's kind of sad about me fighting through this place is that usually I wouldn't have had my 6 Pokemon by now. So this is the point where my Pokemon usually start evolving. The Fluff would have normally evolved by now and things like that, but once again I have 6 Pokemon, so they're going to have to stay being pretty weak. I mean, these Team Rocket grunts are a lot tougher than the ones in the HQ, but again, you shouldn't have that much problem with it. I mean, I didn't, and my Pokemon are pretty weak, so yeah, these are all pretty easy. Although at this point of recording, I haven't actually beaten this place, so I mean, maybe I have a lot more trouble. Because look, that Zubat's level 26, so but you still shouldn't have any trouble with that. Because my Pokemon are definitely under-leveled. They really needed to be a lot higher level, especially for taking on that Ice Gym. I mean, it was both a blessing and a curse that I beat the Ice Gym without doing any grinding. Because I don't know how, but I've gone through this whole LP without grinding yet. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back here and be like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good at this game, I don't even need to grind. But it's definitely going to be brutal once I hit the Elite Four. Because it's quite nice fighting all these Team Rocket grunts, because you can avoid a lot of them, but it's nice that they're here, because again, at this point at the game, I can't really avoid any trainer battles because I need as much XP as I can get. But yeah, once I get to the Elite Four, I'm calling it now, that's going to be brutal. So brutal. Having to level up all my Pokemon, it's just, especially on, I don't even want to think about it at this point in time. So yeah, once again, Mega Dude just kicking us using Rollout. I would talk about, the reason I'm not talking about the battles that are going on screen is because you don't need any special tactics to beat them, it's just Team Rocket. But anyway, with that, it's time to end off the part, so next time in Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver, we will go through the radio tower. So, I've been on Song 23, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.